The industry revenue at its peak depended on several factors: pay-per-views, ratings, house shows, arena gates and merchandise. We are looking at perhaps the standout month in the history of the business between April 1st to May 1st 2000, where all of them peaked simultaneously. Throughout history there were some individual shows or string of events that did bigger in a specific department before and after that month, but almost nothing was at the same level in every aspect. The first category will be arena gates and house show crowds. In March 2000, the company's corporate website released a statement on WWF shows selling out major arenas in minutes, with ticket prices more expansive than ever before. It created a situation where ticket demand and revenue were peaking at the same time as the company were breaking local records in the city's major arenas on what seemed like a weekly basis. The streak continued as the 5 Raw shows and 4 SmackDown shows in April to May were all sold out well in advance. Wrestlemania 16, despite being in a normal arena setting and not a stadium, drew the 4th highest gate in company history in addition to around 30,000 people for the Axis event. WWF continued the month with the largest non-pay-per-view MSG gate in history, a record 10 consecutive sellout of Madison Square Garden headlined by Rock and the Acolytes against DX, in addition to around 80% sellout of the other house shows during the month. The 2 pay-per-views during the period were Wrestlemania 16 and Backlash 2000. Wrestlemania, built as the night Rock wins the belt for the first time since last year's Mania, drew the biggest pay-per-view in wrestling history with over 830,000 domestic buys, making it one of the top 5 biggest ever shows to this day. An added attraction that turned out to be a big additional revenue was a special pay-per-view package for $50 total called All Day Long, with over 8 hours of coverage all the way to the opening of the Mania 16 live broadcast from Anaheim. After going with a bait-and-switch finish and not delivering at WrestleMania, Backlash was built as the final payoff of Rock's year-long title chase, with the big addition of Steve Austin coming back from injury for the first time since November 1999. The show drew over 670,000 buys, making it the biggest B pay-per-view in history, with cable providers during the final build preparing ahead of time for the expected increased demand due to the hype surrounding the show. At this point the company's pay-per-view distribution was almost exclusively domestic, which in later years, mainly from 2004 on, will change with the expansion to a worldwide pay-per-view system. Even with the around 1.5 million pay-per-view buys for both shows, almost all exclusively domestic orders, was a peak that wasn't reached again.
What about the t-shirts? Sell the t-shirts right now. Say it. Shut your mouth, you idiot. So The Rock says we got them all. We got tank tops, t-shirts, towels, everything else. Right now the phones are ringing off the hook.
Merchandise for the month would see the company's booming business continue at WrestleMania 16, drawing an all-time record of $20 per head. That means that every person in the sold-out Anaheim Pond spent an average of $20 on merchandise at the event. The month continued with the company and Rock in particular moving merchandise at an all-time rapid rate, drawing over $10 per head on all house shows and TV tapings in the following weeks. Rock's record-breaking merchandise sales included a show at San Antonio's Freeman Coliseum, drawing over $12.80 per head, among the biggest merchandise figures for a non-pay-per-view event in history. Between its Raw and SmackDown shows on USA and UPN, this run was the highest-rated and most-watched ratings month in WWF history, with both programs peaking in viewership on cable and national television. If we take out the May 10, 1999 Raw show that went unopposed all night, the April 24, 2000 Raw show drew the highest rating in Raw history with a 7.2 overall. A week later, coming off Backlash, Raw broke the record again, drawing an all-time show peak of 7.4 overall rating. SmackDown on April 27 drew its joint highest rating of all time with a 5.4 rating, which translated in viewership would be around a 7 rating on cable TV. Looking at the individual segments that drove the peak numbers. April 24 saw two near-record-level peaks. The first came from Vince McMahon returning to television after a week off to hype the Backlash main event, drawing an 8.1 rating. Around 40 minutes after that promo, the main event tag match of The Rock and Chris Jericho vs Triple H and Chris Benoit saw a bump to an 8.6 rating. A show-long angle between Rock, Austin and the McMahon's faction on April 27 culminating in the TV return of Steve Austin for the first time since January 2000, saw national numbers jumping to peak SmackDown levels. The show opened with Rock coming out teasing the appearance of Austin for tonight, leaving the McMahons searching all over the building throughout the night as Rock was shown leaving the parking lot. Rock then returned 15 minutes to the end of the show hyping the upcoming main event and introduced Austin on screen, standing outside the Charlotte Coliseum, ending up with him blowing up the DX Express. The segment drew a 6.6 rating, translated to around an 8 rating on cable, making it among the most watched segments in SmackDown history. The month peaked on television on the May 1 draw. During Rock's title win promo, the McMahons came out with Vince promising that Rock will have one of the shortest title reigns of all time, booking Rock vs Shane in a cage match for the main event. The match, which did a 8.3 final quarter-hour rating and then a 9.1 overrun, became the most watched match in cable TV history with over 11 million viewers at the peak, making it on average around a 10 million viewer mark month for the top storyline and angles. In an overview of the time leading up to this period and its aftermath, the original plan going in would see Austin and Rock headlining their second consecutive Wrestlemania in the main event rematch. The scenario, according to reports and company creative heads, would see Steve Austin win the title from Triple H around or at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, with Rock winning the Rumble match on the same night, with Austin then turning heel on Rock, setting up the match with Rock getting the win back. Mick Foley in his 2001 book noted that the original plan was for him to turn on Rock, leading to a Rock vs. heel Cactus Jack program which would occupy Rock until Mania. With Austin's surgery delaying the match to next year, the likely option was Rock against either Hunter or Foley in the main event. Triple H was a full-time promoted performer and Foley was on his way out, so Hunter was the more likely option, especially with his growing political pull resulting in him being probably the most protected heel of all time. But the biggest one-day money match was clearly Rock vs. heel Cactus Jack. That resulted in a four-way built entirely on Rock's chase, with the added attraction of it being Foley's last match, to be counted on to build on last year's milestone event. With Rock's transcending popularity expanding the product to different audiences, including 20 million viewers on a season peak at SNL 2 weeks before the show, that was enough to draw an all-time industry pay-per-view. The company got a massive boost to its middle and upper card as the turmoil in WCW led to the Radicals signing to the roster. The tag team division was at its peak, with the three-team TLC group fully motivated to do whatever spectacularly needed to get to the next level, along with Rikishi and the Too Cool stable on fire, getting some of the biggest crowd reactions of all time. With the absence of Steve Austin, Mick Foley and Undertaker, along with increased popularity which in hindsight was perhaps the most over period of his career, Chris Jericho was arguably the second biggest babyface in the company by April and was starting to get opportunities near the top of the card, working with Rock, Benoit, and Hunter. Perhaps the standout to join the permanent main event crew was Kurt Angle, who since his debut in November '99 has shown rapid improvement on a weekly basis, with the company's trust in him to pull off any booking scenario by March and April, as he was working the line between the Olympic gold wrestler to a comedic preaching character. The company was firing on all cylinders heading into the summer of 2000, while looking ahead to major players returning from injury in the next weeks and months. But the business deals going on behind the scenes at the time would impact the company in different ways long-term, with the WWF negotiating with Viacom about moving all its programming to their network, along with probably the biggest game changer in the preparation of going public in October.